And good morning and good morning. Welcome to another episode and edition of the Kitchings Table. I'm your host, W. Earl Kitchings. As always, every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m., we are very delighted to be with you to share something that maybe entertains you, maybe gives you some information and knowledge, maybe just makes you go, wow, I didn't know that. As always, joining me, my co-host, Ronleen Kennedy. Good morning, Ronleen.
Good morning, Earl. How are you doing this morning?
It's another beautiful Tuesday, and I'm glad to be here to see one more day. So we are definitely here to make another episode something special for our listeners and our viewers. So, Ronald,
Yes.
let me ask you a question. You
hmm
like to fly, right?
Not really.
No, you don't like to fly? Okay. Well, being that we are approaching the holidays, I thought we'd take a moment to maybe discuss some of the things that apply to traveling by air versus driving. Now, I would take it you prefer driving than flying.
Correct.
Okay, so Ronleen is what I call a road dog. She'll drive, 8, 10 hours and it don't bother her. I can't do it. At 5, I'm pretty much like, that's it. I'm okay, enough of this. Certain times I can go longer than that, but it's got to be a very certain special time. But for those of you who don't mind the driving, fine. If I have my preference, I would like to fly anytime I have to travel a distance. So when we travel now with flying, because everything has been changed so much since 9/11, the experiences we have either been magnified on the good side or magnified on the bad side, and or somewhere in between. So I thought what we'd do is take a moment out today, since we're coming up on the Thanksgiving holidays and then 30 days within that. So we have Christmas, but they're all connected because over the next 45 days, people will be traveling, and most of them by air. Let me ask this before I go into the flying, Raleigh. Would you prefer traveling by train?
No,
You don't like the train?
I love the train, but no, I don't prefer to travel by train.
I see. Have you ever traveled on a train and had your own berth, like, your own sleeping quarters, anything like that?
Tried that.
Kind of cramped?
Right.
Okay. Well, I will say that traveling on a train affords you a little bit more room than flying on an airplane. It's a little bit more room. It probably takes a little longer, simply because traveling through cities, you have to slow down and then you speed up, or another train is coming, you have to stop, or whatever the things that are happening on the railways. Uh, but I always have found traveling by train to be pretty relaxing, simply because it is roomy. You can walk around, you can get up and walk around. Getting up and walking around on a plane is like, you know, depending on where you are on the plane, you're going from the back to the front or from the front to the back, or if you're in the middle, you can go either way. But that trip, that walk does end. You can't go to another car. It's like, okay, you go to the back of that plane. It's like, that's it. You go to the front of the plane until you get to the blue curtain. You know about that blue curtain, Ronleen?
I know about the blue
That
curtain.
blue curtain, and many, many, many of us travel coach, economy class, however you want to put that. But I love it when they're about to take off and that flight attendant comes and they just snatch that blue curtain, like, I don't want y'all to see anything going on up here because this has nothing to do with you and it's none of your business. It's like, okay. And all the amenities. Now, if you've ever traveled first class, number one, you're sitting in a nice, plush, big seat, all to yourself, roomy. You got a little bit more leg room. And of course, when they start, some airlines, they bring you the nice warm towels to kind of wet your face and wet your hands. And as soon as you sit down in first class, they start bringing you drinks.
Yes.
As soon as you sit down, sir, would you like a drink? Of
Mhm.
course. Of course, I would like a drink and anything else you're bringing. But first class, and it's always funny because people who are going into coach, they look down at the first class people like, I hate you. You sitting up here like, you already have here drinking. Oh, this is so nice. So that blue curtain closes, and man, things change on their airlines. But I thought we might just talk about some of the things that affect our traveling by air, and not so much the way we travel, but just some of the things that go on uh, pre pre-flight, during flight, and courtesy. So I found an article online by Danielle Broff. This was from last year, and she found like 14 ways. I'm not going to go over everything in the 14, but she identified 14 ways that you should look at or consider in making your next flight more accommodating, more relaxing, more, you know, unconfrontational. And because COVID has allowed us to travel again, then we are now traveling a little bit more frequently. And I think the first thing that we have to take into account is preparing for our flight. And she identified some things about preparing for the flight before you get to the airport and get on the plane. So, one of the first things she talks about, uh, and we talk about airplane gadgets, but in getting ready for your flight, one of the things you might want to do is bring your own power strip. Bring your own power strip, multi-outlet surge protector. When the question is, why do you think that's a very smart idea? Because when you get to the excuse me, when you get to the airport and you get past TSA, and TSA is a whole nother issue. And let me tell you, if you're not at that airport in time, TSA can cause you to lose your flight. And I don't know if you've ever had to run through the airport to try to catch a flight, but if your concourse is way out, for instance, for those of us who have traveled to Atlanta and they tell you concourse D, and you got to get to D by train, and the train maybe not going as fast as you like. And then not only when you get to D, it's all the way at the end of D, like gate one, concourse D. That's the first gate, but it's all the way at the end. You may not make your flight. But before you get to that point, she talks about bringing your own power strip, because I've had this happen. You get to your chair in the waiting area, and they have the outlets, and then some outlets don't work, or it's a problem with them. So one of the things she suggests is bring your own power strip so that you can plug in, and whatever devices you need to plug up, you can do them at your own convenience and not have to worry about someone else. Also, when you get to the hotel, or wherever you're staying, it allows you to plug up your devices. So if you got two phones, a tablet, and something else, and you need 4 plugs and there are only 2 plugs, then you're going to have an issue. So that's one thing. Then it says, give yourself easy access at security. And again, the TSA checkpoint is a major deal. And if you've gotten a way to bypass a lot of the waiting, then good for you. But if you got to wait, man, you want to make sure you get there. And what has become very interesting now, Ronline, is this. Now, once upon a time, you didn't always have to take off your shoes and your belt and your hat. Now you got to take off your shoes and your belt and your hat. You got to walk through the little thing where, whips around you to check to make sure you got nothing else. Then you walk a little further, and then they wand you down. And then you got to put your shoes back on after you get your bag. You got to put your belt back on, man. It's almost like a dress rehearsal for something. It's like I'm dress rehearsing to take a flight. All this because of 9/11. And I'm not mad about the security, pre-calls or protocols they put in. It's a necessary thing. But one of the things that's funny is, the little bottles. You can only have like the 4-ounce bottles in your bag that you're carrying on the plane. Now, under the plane, they don't care about, how big your bottle is. But if you're getting on the plane, Sir, that's too big. You're gonna have to take it out. No, sir, that can't come on. You can't. You have to, and they tell you either throw it away or you're gonna be delayed. So what do? You throw stuff away. So you have to take all these precautions. So that's the next thing. Now, here's an interesting thing they talked about when traveling. Use a shipping service. Use a shipping service. And basically what this does is allows you to ship your bag for a fee. So maybe if you were going someplace and you wanted to maybe put it on, I don't know, UPS, I don't know, that might be one way, but some other baggage service, that might be an option. But many people are very paranoid about losing luggage, and when you lose your luggage or it takes a different route than you took, you're going to Chicago, your baggage went to New York, then when you try to get it back, oh, we'll deliver it to you, and it's 2 days later and you hadn't gotten your luggage, and now it's like, okay, it's time to go back and you still haven't gotten your luggage, and sir, we can't find your luggage. And you go to the airport sometimes and you go down there with a baggage claim, not the baggage claim on the carousel, the baggage claim office, and you see all these bags. You're like, oh my goodness, what happened? Yeah, some people missed their flights. No, their baggage missed the flight. So they're all stacked up in that office, man. And I mean, they're just flowing out of the office. I mean, that's everywhere. That's why people are a little paranoid about making sure they take that bag on the plane. Now, the confines to that bag are very strict. And people get on that plane, man, and some people know how to properly put that baggage in the overhead bin, and others, man, they just try to jam that thing in, and you're gonna make that baggage door close above you, and it's all kinds of issues. And then the flight attendant, sir, you're gonna have to move that bag, or we're gonna have to do something, or we're gonna take it back out and let them check your bag out here and put it under the plane. So if you don't want to go through those hassles, she suggests a shipping service. She also says try to avoid departure time that coincides with rush hour traffic. Now, that is a very strong tip. If you're in a big city, your flight leaves at 4, you know that traffic might start backing up at 3. You might want to be at the airport by 1. Better to be at the airport at 1 waiting on your flight than panicking, having an anxiety attack because you're stuck in traffic all of a sudden. And you know how you can be riding along and everything is smooth, and all of a sudden you start seeing it back up and you're like, oh no, I'm gonna miss my flight. Yeah, you're gonna miss it. You're gonna miss it. That thing backs up, or you're gonna be late. And getting there right as the plane is supposed to take off, that is not a good feeling. So try to make sure, they tell you to be there 2 hours ahead, but you got to take into account, depending on if you live in a city with traffic, you might want to get there at least 3 hours before your flight leaves. She also talks about luggage allowance and connections. It talks about watch what you eat and drink on the before the flight or on the flight, but recommends drinking a lot of water. However, what drinking a lot of water produces. It says avoid carbonated drinks. It makes you feel bloated. And I tell you, there's nothing worse than sitting down somewhere and you feel bloated. I mean, that's just the worst. So minimize that. And I think you don't really have to worry about the food on the plane anymore because they're not giving you much on these flights anymore. The little goldfish or the pretzels, peanuts. I mean, 2 tablespoon servings, and that's about all you get in a bag. You see people ask for double bags when they're coming along. So, some people don't eat when they get on the plane, so they figure they're going to try to make a meal out of the snacks. That's all it is a snack. You're on a 3-hour flight, you're going to get a snack. You can get a beverage and a snack. Now, you get a longer flight, you might get a meal. You're going overseas, you definitely will get a meal. But if you got a 2-hour flight somewhere, don't be complaining about the snacks. That's what you're going to get. The other thing is checking your passport. The other thing would be arming yourself with information. making sure you know where you're going, where your flight is, how to get to the airport. All these things minimize time. You want to minimize that time. And these are just some of the points she brought up. And another thing she talked about was set your watch with the local time, so you're not off time, because you go into a different time zone, you get thrown off. And priority bagging. And then as she closes, she talks about traveling like a local and accessing Wi-Fi. So those were some of the things. Now, in going online and looking for some other ways to deal with a flight, because those are like pre-flight things. Make sure you do all these things in advance if you can. If you don't want to do all those things, well, that's, as they say, that's your problem and you'll have to deal with it. However, when we better prepare, we do a better job. So in this next portion of this topic today about flying smart, flight courtesy. Flight courtesy. You're laughing and smiling, so you must know some experience or have some stories to talk about flight courtesy. Why don't you share something with us, Ronleen?
There's nothing worse than having an irate customer on that flight.
Absolutely.
Trapped in that small cabin.
Indeed.
And you're going to be dealt with. You have U.S. Marshals on the plane with you. They're on board. So it's not one of those things where you get in the air and nothing can be called for you or whatever, because
Oh yeah.
it's airlines everywhere underneath you once you get in the air, and they don't mind taking that trip downward to prove their point, getting you off.
In a heartbeat. Let that flight attendant go to the captain.
Yes.
And the captain comes on. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to make a detour stop right now. We have some unruly passenger on the flight, so I'm going to take it down to Jackson, Mississippi. We're sorry for the delay in getting to Dallas, Texas, but we won't be long on the ground. We're going to land, get this person off the plane, and we'll continue flight. Sorry for the inconvenience, but thank you. And it's like, okay, so you have rude people on the plane. And of course, and they talk, this point talks about being prepared. You're going to have to go through TSA before you get on a plane. So be ready for that. But once you get on the plane, minimize all the rudeness. Try to be as courteous and friendly as possible. So, Ronleen, what is your favorite when you do fly? What seat do you prefer to be in when you're on the plane?
Window.
You want to be on the window.
Mm-hmm.
And why is that? Other than wanting to just look out.
Don't have to worry about what's going on in the aisles.
I see.
I don't want to see anything.
You don't want to know what's going on in the aisle.
I don't want to know anything that's going on. Whatever I can see visually when I look up or whatever, that's fine. But as far as all of the traffic that takes place, the arm bumping, the hip bumping, all of that kind of stuff that's happening, someone reaching in the overhead bin, I'm out of the way.
Okay. And of course, being by the window is a good prop. If you got a pillow to put your head on and you can just prop it over on that window and go to sleep and forget it. I'm like you. I prefer a window seat. And let me tell you, as soon as I get to my seat and get comfortable, if I'm not really hungry or thirsty, the next thing I'm trying to do, I'm trying to go to sleep.
Yes.
Okay. I'm trying to go to sleep.
When I get off the plane, I have things to do.
Okay.
It's all about business when
So pass me by on the snacks. I don't care. Leave me alone. Leave me in my space. But of course, that's my first choice. Second choice, aisle. I do not like being in that middle seat because elbows are flying and things are moving around too much. The one thing about the aisle that I'm very mindful of is falling asleep in that aisle seat. Because if you fall asleep, your tendency is for you to fall toward the aisle. And when you fall toward the aisle, you might get hit with the beverage cart, or you might get hit with the flight attendant coming through, somebody, another passenger coming through, and you always having to, kind of wake up and correct yourself. But that aisle seat is absolutely out. And again, once I get comfortable, whatever seat it is, and the thing about the aisle seat is, if the other two seats haven't been occupied yet, you got to get up. Got to get up. Oh, that's my seat by the window. Now I got to get up. It's like, and when they get everybody on, and it's that last person, and that window seat is still not taken, and you see this person coming down the aisle, it's like, please don't be this window seat next to me. And it is. It's like, man, why are you just now getting on the plane? What in the world? And here they come, dragging that baggage and wanting to get to that window seat. So now if you and the middle seat are in place, you both got to get up. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Hurry up and get in your seat. Let's go. No, we don't want to hear anything out of you. Sit over there and be quiet. Okay? We'll let you know when the snacks and the drinks are coming. Say nothing. Got us waiting on you all this time. So, but another thing it says is greet the flight attendants. Be personable and greet them. Good morning. How are you doing? Sometimes the flight attendants will respond. Sometimes they won't. You just kind of feel them out. Some of them are very friendly. Some of them are kind of, I always pay attention to when I get it. As soon as you step on the plane, I'm noticing how the flight attendants greet me, and I'm noticing how they greet the people in front of me. Because if you greet somebody, two people ahead of me, very friendly and polite, I come up and all you got to say is good morning. Oh, you went through a whole history of stuff with the person, two people in front of me. What is, y'all count every 2 to 3 people? How you gonna friendly you? Come on. But they say greet the flight attendants and be nice. Okay, fine. I don't have a problem with that. Then it says don't hog the overhead bins. Make sure that luggage fits in there. And, you got your luggage, and you got your coat, and you got your purse. It's like, man, folks just stuff all that stuff in there. So anyway, make sure that that's taken care of. Be sensitive to your seatmate. Be sensitive to your seatmate. And a lot of times people are friendly. They don't mind having conversations with you, and they don't mind talking to you about things. It's just small talk. And then again, you can meet someone on the plane that you hit it off in the conversation. Man, by the time you look up your landing, it's like, where did the time go? So be polite, be courteous, just be friendly. That doesn't hurt you at all for that amount of time. And of course, they don't want to talk your head off either, unless it's just a very talkative person. And of course, when you put your headsets on, that means I don't feel like talking no more.
That's the sign. That's
right?
the sign.
On this, it says, if you don't want to talk anymore, you're just kind of, ready to move on and say, excuse me, I'm going to read my book now. So, but you put that headset on, that tells everyone, okay, I'm listening to something else. Okay, my time of talking with you is over. Okay, well, thank you very much. And then, you slowly put it on, and that's okay. And then they might put theirs on. It's like, okay, we're done talking. Okay. Now, going back to your seatmates, it says, give the middle passenger a break. It says, let the person in the middle have the armrest. I got to think about that one. Okay. Those armrests are basically dividers. We look at them as armrests, but they're basically dividing you from your space. This is my space. Okay. Once you cross over that armrest, you're in my space. So, and the other thing is passengers with small children and infants. Oh my goodness. Don't let them be in the middle seat. Oh my goodness. That space, your space is pretty much compromised. That child is going to, Oh, no, leave the man alone, leave the lady alone. And then you try to be polite. Oh, it's okay, Don't stick your hand in my drink. Okay, don't you stick your hand in my drink. Oh, don't stick your and you just look at that adult like, okay. Oh no, it's okay. I'll get another drink. You're looking at that kid like, what if you do this one more time? So anyway, give your middle passenger a break. Then it says, don't bring stinky food on the plane. What kind of stinky food do you think they're talking about, Ronley? What would be a stinky food?
Anything that doesn't smell, that smells offensive.
Something with onions.
Yes, something with onions, seafood. I
Oh,
mean, yes, things like that, garlicky. Yes.
yes. Man, that'll ruin the trip. The whole plane smells like garlic now. So it suggests you stay away from those kind of foods if you got to bring it on the plane. And then there are times when people bring some of those gourmet hamburgers on the plane, and you be like, oh my goodness. Woo. And you want to be uncourteous and be like, can I have a bite? Can I have a bite? No, that's not happening. So the next thing is think before you recline. Some people don't do that. They just, get in that seat and recline that chair. And it's like people who are tall, man, you put that seat back on their knees, you almost causing them to want to swing on you. Regular people, I consider myself a regular. Anything under 5'9", that's kind of regular. But when you get past that and start going up to 6 feet, your legs are a problem. So if somebody puts that seat reclines, it's a problem. So you just need to be mindful of that, and try not to do it without being courteous enough to maybe say to the person, I'm reclining my seat, or recline it back slowly so the person can stop you. It's like, okay, that's on my knees, or that's okay, because there's not much space there. Now on a train, man, you stretch out, your legs are all the way out, you just, man, I feel so comfortable, my knees aren't hurting. But on a plane, be mindful of that. Then we get to this one. Control your kids. Control your kids, because they will cause everyone on the plane to not like you. A crying baby, and the baby has no control, but okay, children who just like to, mommy, first time on the plane for a kid, oh my goodness, you are in for a ride. If they got their own seat, you are still in for a ride. So it talks about controlling your kids, and I think that's a good thing. Then there's watching your alcoholic intake. Yes, they provide you with the miniatures, but don't overdo it. Don't be on your third one and we haven't taken off yet. And I know some people don't like to fly, so they drink so they can knock themselves out and they have to deal with it. So, okay, I understand that, but be mindful, and just like they do at football stadiums or basketball arenas, you have a limit on how many drinks you can have. And once you reach your limit, that's it. Now, some people, as they say, can't hold their liquor. The next thing you know, there's an issue. And the flight attendant is trying to calm you down. And, sir, ma'am, please don't do that. Or please don't be loud or boisterous, things like that. You're intoxicated. You don't tell me what to do. I do what I want to do on the plane. Okay. All right. So, and then sometimes other passengers intercede and, have something to say. And then don't escalate a conflict. Don't escalate a conflict. As there's a conflict on the plane, let the flight attendants handle it. And like you said, if it's that bad and they report it to the captain, the next city he's over where they've got an airport that will take his plane, they're dropping out of the sky. And I mean, that thing might drop fast. You might see the put your seatbelt on light come on and things like that, because he's getting ready to drop it out the sky fast, because doesn't have a whole lot of time to deal with you. And depending on the conflict, you've seen it on the news where other passengers take another passenger down, and you basically get arrested. You're arrested at that point, because the captain is the police on the plane. He is the sergeant on the desk. So when he takes it down, and they get, and Ronley, when you come down, there are law enforcement officers at the gate. No, not at the gate, at the end of the passageway. So as soon as that door opens, they're waiting on you. And it's not just one guy. Oh, it's going to be a few of them. And depending on how unruly or how bad you've been, they're ready to take you down. And I mean, if it means taking you down hard, that's what they'll do. Okay, so you can act like that if you want to. And for those of you who may not know it, some airports have jails in them. There may be a jail, maybe in the bigger, larger airports where, we're taking you to the airport jail because, the airport police, that's their job. So those are the things to kind of be mindful of as we're flying. Now, before I get into the secret from a flight attendant about traveling, wanted everyone to know that this is the Kitchings Table. Every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. You can catch us here on YouTube or other social media platforms. I'm your host, W. Earl Kitchings. Joining me is my co-host, Ronleen Kennedy. And our topic today is smart flying, or flying smart. And these are the things, because of the holidays coming up, a lot of people are going to be traveling. You want to just be mindful of the important things: getting there on time, getting there early, packing smart, being courteous and friendly when you get on the plane. Try not to create too much of a commotion, and do the best you can to enjoy your flight, because it's a temporary thing and everybody's trying to go somewhere. And I always find it funny too, Ronleen, when you're coming on the plane, you come on kind of one at a time. Once everybody's on the plane and you land, as soon as you hit the tarmac, as soon as you hit that runway coming down, people start unbuckling seatbelts. They tell you not to do that. And then as soon as that plane gets to the gate, and as soon as the pilot puts it in park, man, everybody's jumping up. I'm like, where is everybody going? You can't all jump up at the same time. But that's people. It doesn't matter. People jumping up, man, they want to get off first, and all the bins are opening up. And I really just try to be, if I'm not on the aisle seat, if I'm on the window seat, I'm not in a hurry. I'm not in a hurry, because you're going to stand up and wait anyway. So, and then let other people who got to get out of your aisle, of your seat row, let them get out. If they're in the middle, let them get out and proceed. Be courteous. But some people, that's just not their way. And if someone is struggling with their bag, offer some assistance. I mean, why is courtesy taking such a vacation nowadays? It seems like people rather be rude than courteous, but everybody is in their own world, so that's fine. So, anything you want to throw in right quick, Ronleen, before I go to these secrets?
I want you to say it again. There is a jail cell waiting for you when you cut off that plane. If you had to make them touch down and not get to that flight, that original destination.
The pilot is not happy having to divert to another destination because he's got an unruly passenger. So just know that when they come down, everyone's really not happy with you, and you're going to jail. And if there's not a jail at the airport, you're going to the nearest precinct to be booked. Now, for those of you who may not know this, just so you understand what being an unruly passenger means, or ending up in a conflict and you got to deal with the flight attendants, or they got to land the plane, or you have to deal with some air marshals. That conflict is a federal felony. Please understand this. If they have to take you to jail, you're going to be charged with a federal crime. It's not a local crime. That is federal crime. That airplane is under federal law. So you get charged federally. And as I've said in some other shows, when you get charged federally, excuse me, you have to do every second. There is no probation, negotiation, none of that. So be mindful. If you come down and they tell you, okay, you're going to have to serve 3 months, you're going to serve every day of those 3 months. They're not going to let you out for good behavior. Okay, Mr. Kitchings, you can go now. It's only been 15 days. Oh, no. You're going to do the whole 90. So be mindful that anytime you are unruly on a plane and they have to arrest you, it is a federal crime and you will be charged from that standpoint. So thank you, Ronleen, for bringing that up, because some people don't recognize that and they just, think it's local. What jurisdiction do you think is up here in the sky, man? There's no county jurisdiction up here in the sky. That's why U.S. Marshals are on the plane. Otherwise, it would just be some sheriff or police. No, that's why federal marshals are on the plane. And, Ronleen, and there's some other federal agents on the planes that may not be marshals, but they have federal jurisdiction, and they may not be a marshal. They may have some other federal designation, but they are there on that plane, and they don't mind. They don't mind close quarter confrontations if that's what you want. If that's what you want, okay. As they say, bring it. Mm-hmm. Okay. So now, here's some other tips that we've already talked about that you may want to be aware of. And this were some tips given by some flight attendants who are veterans of flying. And one of the things is, downloading your apps before you get on. Allow for screw up time. Now we talked about, time to get there and things of that nature. Screw up time, so things go wrong. Pack your bags like flight attendants. Now, I think there should be, and I'm probably sure there's something online where you can find it, how to pack those small carry-on bags. And I've seen people do these very unique ways of packing, man. They can get so much into that small space. I mean, it is unbelievable. They don't just throw it in. Everything is folded, and they take 2 or 3 things and put them on top of each other and fold them, and it makes a nice, tight bundle. So depending on where you're going, how long you're going to be there, pack your bag like a flight attendant. My thing is, I know jeans have a 2 to 3 day wear code. I mean, it's an unsaid rule, but you can you can wear those jeans for you can wear them on the plane, you can wear them the next day. That third day is like, okay, that's enough of the jeans. So depending on how many days you got to stay, yeah, you can get away with wearing jeans 1 or 2 days. That's my thing. It's like I don't like having to wear the same thing, too often. So if you're going to be someplace, okay, 2 pair of jeans, a couple of shirts, and things like that. So it says pack like flight attendants. And on one of the things it says is just pack black clothes and be done with it. Put everything in, make everything in your bag black. Bring only 2 pairs of shoes. Now I don't know how that works for women. I don't know if they can do that. Because some women have a carry-on bag and all that's in it is shoes. That's all they got in their shoes. Okay. Talks about security. Then it talks about being sure to eat before you get on the plane. Eat something before you get on the plane, because again, the snacks are not going to happen. One of the things they say too is always bring a sweater. Bring a sweater because those planes can get pretty cold, and people complain about that, like you're in a building or some place where the temperature is very frigid. That's to keep germs down. If you don't know, that's to minimize germs. So if you're going to get on a plane and you're worried about being cold, bring a sweater or a light jacket. making eye contact with the flight attendants. Please, 3 words, please, thank you. They go hand in hand. Please and thank you. And make eye contact when you're doing it. These flight attendants kind of have thankless jobs. It looks very chic to be a flight attendant. Ronleen, one time I almost became a flight attendant.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, right out of college. I interviewed with Eastern Airlines when there was an Eastern Airlines. I interviewed for being a flight attendant. Still can't figure out why I didn't get the job, but it's okay. But courteous passengers are always going to draw the good responses from the flight attendants. So, please and thank you. And when you've done all these things, checked all the boxes, making sure you've done everything, and you're ready to travel, and you're in that seat, you're ready to go, and they're pushing back from the gate, getting on the tarmac, headed for the runway. Relax and try to enjoy your flight. There have been 2 things that really, I won't say annoy me, but just really I'm mindful of in leaving and getting up in the air. For some odd reason, and I've only noticed this when I've been in Atlanta, when you leave Hartsfield and you're going west, for some odd reason, there seems to be a wind shear that when you're going west that makes that plane, how planes make that kind of drop, and you feel like you're in a roller coaster, you make that drop. Seems like every time I've been on a plane, that plane is going west, even though it has to circle back around maybe to go south or just continue west. There's some type of wind pattern that causes that plane to drop. And like, ooh, okay. Dealing with that. And then the other thing is in the major airports, waiting on the runway until it's your time for your plane to take off. You're sitting there. I've heard people say, man, well, I was sitting on the runway for 2 hours. I'm like, 2 hours? You've already been on a plane, on a flight, if you've been on a runway for 2 hours waiting to take off. So that is another issue, a pet peeve. Is like, please don't let us be on this runway too long, because I don't, you start feeling the pains and anguish of being close quartered or sitting next to the wrong person or whatever the issue may be, and sitting there, man, forever. And then, there have been cases where the pilot will come on because something is going wrong. The thermostat on the air conditioner is not cooperating. We got to push back and go back to the gate because there's an issue. Man. So flying is great, but there are times when flying will make you cuss and fuss.
Earl, how about this one? You find out the reason why you're going back is because there's no gas in the plane.
Now that's one I've never.
Someone forgot to fill up.
Ronleen, whatever person forgot to do that, I'm sure got fired. How do you forget to fill up the plane? Ladies and gentlemen, we have to go back to the gate, the terminal. We seem to not have any fuel on the plane. Can we get back to the gate if there's no fuel then? I mean, goodness. Are we going to be stuck? There's no tow service. Well, they are able to tow, but it's like, man, you're going to call somebody to tow us back? So, yeah, I never heard that one, Ronleen. Did not have any fuel on the plane.
Yes, this just happened. This happened during the summer, Earl. It was not fun.
Yeah, I'm sure. One trip, we were on a team trip when I was working at Florida A&M basketball team, and one of the funniest things that happened, our team manager, as we were proceeding to get on the runway, started having cramps in his hamstring. Started having leg cramps. He jumped up screaming, and the whole team was like, sit down. The flight attendant came back and said, that's like, look, man, I understand. You catch a Charlie horse or a cramp in your leg, man, I don't care what y'all telling me. No, this is hurting. And they were like, if you don't sit down, we're going to have to go back to the gate. And it's like, man, nobody wants to go back to the gate. We're trying to get home. So it finally went away. But man, that was so funny because everybody on the team was on his case. So, but yeah, I think you topped that with no fuel in the plane. Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
No.
All right, Juanline. Well, we're going to get to your Black History moment today and let you acknowledge that person. So take it away.
All right. Today's person is Claudette Coven. Claudette Coven. And her story is beginning to be heard more and more. She was the first Rosa Parks, if you will remember what happened to Rosa Parks. She was removed from the bus because she did not want to give up her seat. All right, well, guess what? Claudette Coven was the person that actually did that first, her and four other ladies. However, the other four, they weren't talked about as much, but we are giving the history lesson as it should have been told from the beginning. The reason why it wasn't told that way is because I understand during the court proceedings um, back in the 50s, it was frowned upon when a person unwedded was pregnant. And at that time, she was 15, 16 years old, pregnant, and they felt like the person should go up front. She was part of the NAACP student council. Did you know they had a student council for NAACP at the time for students to be involved in? So when they become adults, they will keep the fight going, as in for civil rights. So she was definitely a civil rights activist at an early age. And um, I learned that Rosa Parks was her mentor. And so the court proceedings proceeded on. They asked Rosa Parks to become the spokesperson in that movement. And so when she was arrested, about the same thing, then her face, her name became the moniker for that civil rights movement for the bus segregation and ending it for our civil rights because it was unconstitutional. Now, the part about this situation for Claudette Colvin, I learned that in 2021, when she was arrested back in 1955, in 2021, her record was finally expunged. She got a chance to live past the wrong from that very beginning that never should have occurred in the first place. So I want to say thank you, Claudette Colvin, for everything that you have done throughout the years of history. I'm glad we get a chance to talk about you today. I pray that you will be able to receive the rest of the acknowledgments that are coming to you as your story is told more and more. Reach the history books, and you never have to be folded away. You are the child that came out of Montgomery, Alabama, where so much controversy about our civil rights has taken place. Martin Luther King, he made his mark there, and so many others. And I'm glad that Rosa Parks was there for you. I understand that you even looked up to Sojourner Truth, and those are people in our history that we need to learn more about. So, what I say to the public today, do not allow anyone to suppress your history, no matter what your ethnic background is. And Earl, I turn this over to you.
Well, thank you so much, excuse me, Ron Lee, for bringing us that Black History nugget. Almost 70 years for a record to be expunged on a 15-year-old simply because she was having some issues. But to know that she was a predecessor to Ms. Parks, you know, glad that history finally comes to light. So, Claudette Colvin, thank you for your service. And of course, we will always remember Rosa Parks as being the mother of the civil rights movement. But there was a daughter before there was a mother. So we'll always be thankful for that. Well, Ronline, that takes us to the end of our time today. We are so thankful that everyone tuned in to watch and listen here on the Kitchings Table today as we talk about flying smart. We hope that you've enjoyed the show, and we hope that you will join us next Tuesday morning here at 10 o'clock for the Kitchings Table, where we will have another topic to share with you. Until then, for my co-host Ron Lee Kennedy, I'm W. Earl Kitchings. Until next time, we say so long, and as always, do something good for somebody else today. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
And give us a like.